The Latin root for the English word negotiation is the word negotiatus. And that word is defined as to carry on business. The essence of business is this process we call negotiation. And so I want to spend a few minutes and share with you a couple of ideas that I think can be helpful to you as you go out and negotiate. Some of you will negotiate this afternoon. Some of you will negotiate tomorrow. All of us will negotiate because it's part of everything that we do. So go with me, if you would, to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I'm going to tell you a story about a negotiation, and what I want you to do is I want you to be thinking about what went wrong with this negotiation. And so after I tell you this story, we're going to talk about what went wrong. Okay? So the scene is Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We're in the office of Art Rooney, the owner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The year is 1984. In comes Franco Harris's agent. Now, for those of you who know who Franco Harris was, Hall of Fame running back, had a tremendous career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, won, I think, 3 Super Bowls or something like that. However, the year's 1984, he's at the end of his career, and now all of a sudden, his agent is negotiating a new contract with the Steelers. So there at the table is Art Rooney and his agent. Art Rooney begins the negotiation by taking a piece of paper and by sliding it across the table to Harris's agent. Harris's agent takes the piece of paper, he looks at it, he knows exactly what it is. It's a doctor's report, and it's a medical evaluation of Franco Harris's knee that says that Franco Harris's knee is shot and that he will not survive the rigors of another NFL season. And so Harris's agent pulls out a pen and he writes on the piece of paper a number and slides it back across the desk to Art Rooney. Art Rooney knows the significance of that number immediately. What that number represents is the amount of yards Franco Harris needs to break Jim Brown's all-time rushing record. And they proceed to have a conversation about how wonderful it would be for Franco Harris to break that record in a Pittsburgh Steelers uniform. How great that would be for the Steelers organization. How great it would be for the city of Pittsburgh. And so that sets the stage for this negotiation. And so Art Rooney throws out the first number. And he says, I'm prepared to pay Franco Harris $385,000 to be the running back for the Steelers next year. Now you got to remember, this is 1984. Okay? The finances of NFL running backs are a little different today. Okay? And so Harris's agent says $385, well, that's not exactly what we had in mind. We were really thinking more like $525. And Rooney says, $525? I think I can do that. And Harris's agent says, well, we're making progress. That's good. That's a good start. Because we were really thinking about $525, but we want that money guaranteed. And so Rooney again says, $525 guaranteed? I can do it. And so the agent again says, well, we're making progress. Because we were really thinking about a second year. And Rooney says, you want a second year on this contract? Fine, I can do that too. So they said, well, we're making progress. But we were really thinking about a second year, not at $525, but a second year at $625. And now Rooney's starting to struggle a little bit, but he says, a second year at $625, I guess I can do that. And Harris's agent again says, well, we're making progress. And so then what he says is, we were really thinking about that second year and having that guaranteed as well. And finally, Art Rooney says, a second year at $625 guaranteed, that's too much to ask. I'm not comfortable with that. Can't do it. And so Harris's agent backtracks and says, well, $625 not guaranteed. I understand it. I think we can do that deal. And Rooney again says, no, I'm not comfortable with that either. And so they start to backtrack. And finally they backtrack all the way to the point where Harris's agent says, your original offer of $385,000 for next year, unguaranteed, we'll take it. And Rooney says, I'm just not real comfortable with that. And he invites Harris's agent to leave his office. Now, if you know the end of the story, did Franco Harris sign with the Pittsburgh Steelers that year? He did not. He ended up signing with the Seattle Seahawks. And he ended up signing with the Seattle Seahawks for $150,000. And did he break Jim Brown's rushing record?
Nope.
He did not. He finished 192 yards short before he retired. So I ask you, what went wrong with that negotiation?
The agent didn't say yes in time.
Okay? Okay? There were parts of the process that perhaps the agent didn't handle well. The agent didn't say yes. What else?
It went from sort of mutual interest to more about the client.
Okay? Okay, so the focus was off. Whether it be Rooney or whether it be the agent, the focus was off in terms of what they were trying to accomplish. Okay? What else went wrong?
Perceived value was lost.
Okay? Perceived value was lost. In terms of how they looked at this from a substantive standpoint, they weren't exactly accurate. All right, anyone think that this was probably an unsuccessful negotiation? Okay? Well, that's what the Pittsburgh Press thought too, for a while. However, as the story goes, the New York Times, a couple of weeks later, broke the story. And what the New York Times reported was that Art Rooney was a master negotiator, and that Art Rooney got exactly what he wanted out of that negotiation. And so they looked back at it, and of course, hindsight's 20/20. But what they looked at and they said, look at the problem that Rooney had. Franco Harris was a hero in Pittsburgh. And Franco Harris was finished as a running back in the NFL. His knee was shot. And yet, what was the problem that Rooney had?
He didn't want to fire him.
Okay? He couldn't fire him because he didn't want to alienate his fan base, who absolutely loved this guy. And he didn't want to be the one. He didn't want to be the reason that Franco Harris wasn't going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Now, what Rooney knew is Rooney knew Harris's agent. He knew he was over-aggressive. He knew that he would continue to ask for more and more and more as long as he said yes. And so he set him up. And he got him to a point where even the most avid Pittsburgh Steelers fan would say, we love Franco Harris, but he's not worth that much. And so you can imagine the press conference the next day when he gets behind the podium and he says, I did everything I could, but I regret to inform you that Harris's agent's demands were just too high and that Franco Harris will no longer be a Pittsburgh Steeler. Now, because Rooney was so good at managing the process, he was able to get exactly what he wanted out of that negotiation. Now, anyone in here ever negotiated an NFL contract? Any of us? Okay? And so how is it then that we're able to think, we're able to analyze about this area of negotiation in which we have no expertise? We're able to do that because the process that's used is the same process that I used with my 3-year-old this morning. It's the same process that Roddy's going to use with his teenage daughter in figuring out how much money to put into her bank account. It's the same process that you all are going to use this afternoon as you carry on your business. See, negotiation is a process. And to be better at negotiation, to be more effective, we need to focus on process, not substance. Abraham Lincoln said, if you give me 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend 6 sharpening my axe. He knew something about the importance of process. He knew something about the importance of managing that process. And so the key to effective deals, the key to getting what you want in negotiation, is to focus and to manage the process instead of worrying about the substance. The substance is the question of what is the right answer? What is the right way to solve this problem? What is the right deal to put together here? That's the substance. That's where many people live in negotiation. What I'm suggesting to you is to think about the question of, how do I get there? What is the right answer? But more importantly than that, how do I get to the right answer? And to think about that question, because over here, thinking about process, thinking about this aspect of negotiation, this is where you can improve. This is where you can become a master. This is where you can develop deals that you never imagined before. So the first idea I want to give you is that successful negotiators focus on process, not substance.